Morant with a running start. Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness! Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance. Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies came up just short in the Summer League championship game. They lost by 2 in overtime, a painful Elam-ending loss to the Miami Heat, and so now we enter the real offseason. The Grizzlies lost despite monster games from Jake LaRavia and from Jackson and Scotty Pippen Jr. Those guys excelled all of Summer League, but it wasn't enough. They gave up a lead at the end of the game, and then in a tightly fought overtime session, which was game to 7, first team to score 7 wins, the Heat were the ones who emerged victorious, and the Grizzlies Summer League ends exactly how it started, with a 2-point Elam-ending loss. Anyways, on today's episode, I'm going to talk about the championship game. I'm going to talk about the play of everybody in that game. I'm also going to do a wrap-up of Summer League, and if we have enough time left over, I'll go over what the regular season rotation might be looking like now that we have the full information of Summer League. Before I get into all of it, just a reminder to try out SeatGeek. If you're looking for tickets to any event, try SeatGeek. Use their color-coded seat map to find yourself a great deal. And if you're a first-time user, go ahead and use my promo code FASTBREAKBREAK, and that will give you $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. You cannot beat that deal. So if you're shopping for tickets, try SeatGeek. Use my promo code FASTBREAKBREAK. All right. Jake LaRavia, Jackson, and Scotty Pippen Jr. combined for 89 points. It was an incredibly entertaining championship game. It was extremely high scoring. I mean, a 40-minute basketball game tied at 113 going into overtime. The Heat, as a team, shot 59% for the game. They got big performances. I mean, some of the guys I warned you about. Josh Christopher, it's a great story. He got waived by the Grizzlies before training camp last season. He ended up in the G League on Miami's team last year, and now he gets to have a Summer League championship, and he was the dynamic scorer. He made a bunch of huge plays, hit a really deep fourth quarter three-pointer that was huge as the Heat erased the Grizzlies' lead. Alondas Williams, Jake LaRavia's college teammate, he was really good in this game. Khalil Ware, the Heat's first-round draft pick, he was impressive in this one, continued a great Summer League run. He had 21 points and 10 rebounds. This was, I think, what anybody was hoping for as far as the championship game outside of the Grizzlies not getting the result. And the way the game wrapped up, I think specifically, was very painful for Grizzlies fans. The Grizzlies missed 8 of their 13 free throw attempts over the final 7.5 minutes of the fourth quarter and in the untimed overtime period. And the guys who missed the free throws were the guys you're depending on. Scotty Pippen Jr., who I think had made 19 consecutive free throws before missing a big fourth quarter free throw. Scotty Pippen Jr. was 2 out of 5 over this time frame. Jake LaRavia was 2 for 4 on free throws. Jackson, who had a terrible Summer League shooting free throws, was 1 out of 4 over the final few minutes of the fourth quarter and in overtime. So the Grizzlies turned the basketball over several times in the last 7 minutes of regulation. They miss all those free throws, and because of that, they end up having their lead erased, and they come up just short. They still could have won, too. So an extremely frustrating result for the Grizzlies team and for Grizzlies fans. It felt like, honestly, they were going to win the game for most of it. It seemed like they were in control. Despite the fact that the Heat were shooting the ball really, really well, the Grizzlies basically led most of the game. There was this highlight play by Isaiah Miller in the fourth quarter where he blocked a shot, then got a steal, then had a highlight dunk in the span of just a few seconds. And it seemed like that maybe put the game away. I mean, that gave the Grizzlies a 7-point lead at that point, but then the Heat kept coming. And there are some criticisms to be made of the Grizzlies defense. I felt like the effort was good, but also there were some breakdowns. Like they were leaving Cole Swider wide open a lot. The final play in regulation for the Heat, or the go-ahead shot from the Heat in regulation, I don't think that was a defensive mix-up as much as it was a excellent play call by the Heat. Yes, Scotty Pippen Jr. goes down on the screen trying to get a foul call, but even if he hadn't been doing that, a thing I, of course, call referee roulette, he still wasn't going to be in position to make the play. It was a really good play call to get Cole Swider a wide-open look. That puts the Heat up by 3. But, of course, the Grizzlies then come down and tie the game. GG Jackson makes a big three-pointer off of a Scotty Pippen Jr. offensive rebound. That ties it up at 113. Then Jaylen Wells draws that clutch charge. But then in overtime, the Grizzlies couldn't get the job done. But still, I think when we think about the Summer League, it's an overwhelming success for this Grizzlies team, even if the final wasn't exactly what you wanted. As far as the specific performances in the final game, Scotty Pippen Jr. had 29 points. He had 11 assists and 4 more steals. The only thing you criticize really is the 1 out of 8 from the three-point line for Scotty. His three-point shooting was not ideal in Summer League, but the 1 3 he hit, it was a clutch 3 in the fourth quarter. The defense went under on a screen, and Pippen pulls up from the top of the key. He broke a 99 all tie with that made three-pointer. Then, of course, he missed those 3 free throws, but he was 10 out of 13 at the foul line. The Grizzlies, as a team in this game, they were manipulating the refs very, very well. They got a lot of calls. I think if you're a Heat fan, you'd be frustrated, but the Grizzlies did a good job of initiating contact and forcing the referees to make calls. Scotty Pippen Jr. has been elite at this all of Summer League. Jake LaRavia excels at this. I mean, by the way, I guess it's news that Jake LaRavia played in this game. He's been in and out of Summer League with injury. He missed the semifinal game. He actually left this game briefly where it looked like he aggravated one of his leg injuries on an awkward-looking shot in transition, but he came back in the game, and he scored 32 points. I mean, Jake was really, really good in this game. 32 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. GG Jackson, outside of going 3 out of 8 at the foul line, GG Jackson was incredible in this game. He hasn't necessarily been efficient for most of Summer League, but he was incredibly efficient, scoring in all manner of ways once again, getting more offensive rebounds. He's been great at offensive rebounding in Summer League. He had the putbacks. He had the three-pointers. He had the moves off of the dribble. He was so good in this one. 9 rebounds to go with the 28 points, 2 steals, 2 more assists. So it's disappointing. Again, when you look at the individual performances, you're like, wow, just great job. Maybe you credit the Heat. They were that good. They did not put their head down. They just kept coming. They kept coming. And eventually they do end up on top. Now, the Grizzlies once again relied heavily on their starters. Those starters were Scotty Pippen Jr., GG Jackson, Jake LaRavia, and then Jaylen Wells and Trey Jemison. They only played basically 6 guys. Isaiah Miller was the 6th man. He played 23 minutes. No one else played much of anything. Drew Pemper got 7 minutes. Dejan Giroux played 5 minutes. Timmy Allen played 3 minutes. They relied on their main guys, and mostly those guys came through. Jaylen Wells, coming off of his incredible game in the semifinals, he didn't shoot the ball as much, but had 8 points, 3 rebounds. He had a 4-point play, got an assist, a steal. He finished up a very nice Summer League. And again, that clutch charge that he drew on Josh Christopher. He did end up fouling out of the game, but I thought it was a good performance from Jaylen Wells, who shifted into more of a low usage role with the return of Jake LaRavia. Trey Jemison, he had his hands full trying to deal with Kel'el Ware and the Heat, but 8 points, 8 rebounds, 4 more offensive rebounds for Trey. Isaiah Miller, besides that unbelievable SportsCenter top 10 play, he had 8 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, made his only 3-point attempt. I mean, the Grizzlies won second chance scoring in this one. They shot the three-pointer pretty well. Overall, as a team, they were 51% from the field. You would think that would be enough, but it wasn't. Again, credit Alondas Williams and Kel'el Ware, and also that guy Pele Larson, the guy who hit the game winner in overtime. He battled foul trouble the whole game, but he was awesome. He made 7 out of 9 field goal attempts, had 16 points in just 20 minutes. Credit the Miami Heat for getting this victory. But now that Summer League's over, I think it's good to look back and figure out exactly what we learned about the team and to consider what are the questions we had about the team coming in to Summer League. And I think most of the things we found out, they're basically all good. I think you would say coming in to Summer League, the expectation was that a team with Scotty Pippen Jr. and Zach Edey, surrounded by GG Jackson and Jake LaRavia and the shooting of the second-round rookies, was going to be elite. And it turns out it was, even with Zach Edey only playing one game and one other quarter. This team ended up being very, very good. The things we were looking for coming into Summer League, of course, the first one was, how does Zach Edey look? In the minutes Zach Edey played, he looked great. The next questions were going to be, how do Cam Spencer and Jaylen Wells look? Well, I think those guys acquitted themselves very, very well. Cam Spencer only got to play in 4 games, but his 3-point shot, it was stuck on automatic. He finished Summer League averaging 13.8 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, including 2.3 offensive rebounds per game. He had 3.8 assists per game, 1.5 steals. He made 10 out of 19 three-pointers in Summer League. So his overall shooting splits, 58% overall on field goals, 53% from three-pointers. He was just 60% at the line, only 3 out of 5. But Cam Spencer showed everything. You're like, oh yeah, that guy competes. He's got the dog in him. And if his shot's going in, he's going to be a contributor. So that seems like a nice result from the 57th pick in the draft. Jaylen Wells got to a slow start, but he had that massive game where he made the game winner in Salt Lake City. And then he had the huge explosion in the semifinals against the Clippers, where he had 28 points on 12 field goal attempts. Jaylen Wells' final numbers, they were, all over the place as far as game-by-game numbers, but his averages, he finishes with 13.5 points per game in his 8 appearances, had 3.5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. He only turned the basketball over 5 times in 8 games. I mean, also, I guess he just shoots. But still, good stuff from Jaylen Wells, good stuff drawing charges. His overall shooting splits, he ended up shooting 37% from 3. He made 19 out of 20 free throws in Summer League. That's 95%. So the rookies we drafted ended up looking good. That was probably the primary question we had as fans going into Summer League. The next question we had going in, the next thing we were looking for, was to see how much Jake LaRavia and GG Jackson stood out. With all the experience they got in the regular season going down the stretch, you thought they should have the opportunity to excel in Summer League, and you wanted them to look good. Of course, Jake LaRavia going into his 3rd NBA season. You're like, these guys need to look better than their opponents. Guess what? They did. They played really, really well. I mean, GG Jackson started off Summer League with a stinker in the first game, that overtime loss against the Jazz, but then he basically got better and better. The last several games for GG, he was just tremendous on offense. Now, maybe the efficiency was never there, and of course, we're going to point out that the free throws weren't there, but he started making plays for others. He also had some very nice assists in the championship game. But GG Jackson's stats, he finished over 8 games. He averaged 20.8 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game. Also, again, the offensive rebounding was one of the things I was most encouraged by from GG in Summer League. It's been an absolute bright spot. I mean, maybe it's just a situation where he's bigger and more athletic than a lot of the guys out there, but I think it shows effort and hustle. And also, by the way, having a 19-year-old wing who's bigger and more athletic than most of the guys out there, that rules. It's tremendous. So Gigi making plays on the offensive glass consistently. Also, again, scoring the basketball. I keep saying it. The phrase I keep using is the array of shot making that Gigi Jackson has shown in Summer League is awesome. He did, by the way, end up averaging 2.1 assists per game. He got 12 over his last 3 games. Averaged a steal per game, 2.8 turnovers per game. The shooting splits do leave a lot to be desired, though. 43% overall on field goal percentage, 32% from 3, 60% on free throws for all of Summer League. The totals are 25 for 42 on free throws. But Gigi was good. Also, by the way, was named first team all Summer League. I forgot to mention all that. Scotty Pippen Jr. and Gigi Jackson named first team all Summer League. However, Scotty Pippen Jr. was snubbed for Summer League MVP. Jaylen Wilson of the Nets somehow ended up Summer League MVP. He didn't even make all Summer League first team. He was on the second team. I don't get it. I mean, yes, Jaylen Wilson was really good in Summer League. I think he averaged 21 points per game, made 59% of his three-pointers. But still, I was surprised they announced the Summer League MVP before the championship game was played. I mean, maybe it would have ended up being Khalil Ware if they did that after the game. So knowing that the Grizzlies lost now, I guess we don't have to be that outraged that Scotty Pippen Jr. was, in my opinion, snubbed for Summer League MVP. But Scotty is acknowledged with a first team all Summer League award, and Gigi also makes first team all Summer League. Scotty's stats for all of Summer League are just awesome. Scotty played in 8 games. The Grizzlies were 5-3 when he played, but 20.9 points per game, 7.8 assists per game, 3.3 steals per game. That's against just 2.4 turnovers per game. He only shot 29% on threes. His shooting splits 45, 29, 80. According to Real GM, Scotty is now tied for the 3rd most steals in Summer League history. Although, to be honest, I don't actually trust these stats because I see omissions when I search for things on Real GM's Summer League database. But Scotty does have 44 steals in 16 career Summer League games, so perhaps it's accurate. It says that he trails Briante Weber and Larry Drew II for the most career Summer League steals ever. But like Scotty Pippen Jr., I think one thing we wanted to see from him is just him taking another step and hopefully being ready to take either a backup point guard role or an emergency point guard role for the Grizzlies this regular season. And I think he did prove that. Now, does that mean he needs to be on the regular roster and promoted from his two-way spot? I don't think so still, just because I'd rather keep that roster spot open for other purposes, but plenty of other folks disagree with me. Regardless, it was a very impressive Summer League for Scotty. I think he showed basically everything you wanted to see from him outside of perhaps maybe shooting the three-pointers a little bit more accurately. Now, Jake LaRavia ended up playing in 5 games, averaged 17.6 points per game. But one of those games, he left after 7 minutes and only scored 2 points. If you throw that game out, LaRavia's Summer League averages are incredible. 21.5 points per game. This is the 4 games that he finished. 21.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3.5 steals per game. He only made 9 out of 27 threes. That's 33%. He did make 83% of his free throws, but he was at 88% before he missed 2 clutch free throws in the championship game. When he plays, Jake LaRavia had a tremendous Summer League, and I think he did continue that momentum from the end of the regular season. That was his stated goal. That's why he asked to play Summer League, was so he could keep the momentum going. I feel like he did keep the momentum going. The question remains for him, can he shoot the ball well enough to stick in the main rotation when everybody's healthy? Can he guard on the perimeter well enough to not be just targeted and cooked out there? I mean, yes, he gets lots of steals, but the question is going to be, does he do enough other stuff at a high enough level that he can contribute for the main team? I think yes. I come down yes on that answer. If he's healthy, which is a huge question, it seems like for him, if he's healthy, I feel like his size, his help defense, his quick hands, and then his craftiness on offense, generating points just by hitting weird shots, by getting to the foul line, I think that's probably good enough. So I'm rather optimistic about what Jake LaRavia can still be. Now, as far as the other guys and their shooting numbers, let's just go through the guys who played the most outside of those main 5 people I just emphasized. Trey Jemison played in 9 Summer League games, averaged 9.5 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game. 3.9 of those rebounds were on the offensive end. Averaged under 1 assist, under 1 steal, averaged exactly 1 block per game. He was 50% at the line, 59% from the field. Is he good enough to keep that two-way spot? Perhaps. I don't know what better player is out there. So that's a unanswered question for me so far. Other guys who are not going to be on the main roster, but contributed significantly this Summer League. Isaiah Miller, he ended up playing in 8 Summer League games, averaged 2.2 steals per game in Summer League. That's just 18 minutes per game. So those are some awesome steal numbers. He only made 29% of his 3-pointers, 34% overall on field goal attempts, averaged 7 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. And then Deke Giroux played in 9 games, averaged 19 minutes a game. His averages were 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1 steal. He got 5 blocks in his 9 appearances. He only made 28% of his threes. And with that, I feel like we can close down Summer League. Sorry for your lack of analysis, Drew Pember. Maybe you'll resurface on the hustle or something. But that was an impressive Summer League. Again, I feel sad that they didn't get immortalized on the Summer League Wikipedia page by being the champions. It felt like they were good enough to be the champions. They played well enough in the title game. They just didn't make the plays when it mattered down the stretch. Now, let's actually look at the main roster now that we feel like we've learned some things about these guys at Summer League, and let's try to project what we think the rotation might be or is going to be for the upcoming regular season, and we'll do that right after this short break. All right, now that we're super optimistic about these young guys at Summer League, since Gigi Jackson looked good and Jake LaRavia looked good and all the rookies played really, really well, and Scotty Pippen Jr. has given you a lot of confidence about his ability to contribute at the main level, let's look at the roster and who's going to get minutes when the regular season comes around. Now, we're looking at the Grizzlies roster as it is right now, plus Luke Kennard. As of this recording, it's about 11 a.m. Central Time as I'm talking into this microphone on Tuesday, July 23rd. Luke Kennard is still not signed. Summer League is over and Luke Kennard is not signed. That is surprising to me. Why has this occurred? I have no idea. Luke Kennard apparently was spotted in Las Vegas. I was nearly certain this deal would get announced during Summer League. It has not. But still, I'm told the expectation is he's going to sign with the Grizzlies. And you look at the trade that they made to unload Zaire Williams. They brought back Mamadi Diakite. I'm guessing they're going to waive him. Even if they don't, there's a roster spot for Luke. But let's look at the roster, assuming Luke Kennard is coming back. And let's try to project what the rotation is going to be. Now, I think when you're looking at the rotation for next year, there are knowns. There are things that we are certain of. For me, the undisputed knowns are, well, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Marcus Smart are going to play. I'm also considering it a known that Zach Edey and Brandon Clark are going to play. With no other roster changes outside of adding Luke Kennard, I feel confident those things are going to occur. I also feel confident basically about what the minute distribution is going to be. In a close regular season game, Ja Morant's probably going to play like 34 to 36 minutes. Desmond Bane's going to play maybe a little bit more than that, but like 34 to 38 minutes. We know those two guys are probably going to stagger their minutes. One of those guys is going to play like 3, 5 to 6 minute stints a half. The other guy is going to start the game, play 10 minutes or so, then come out and then finish the half playing 6 to 8 minutes or so. Like, I feel confident Those guys are going to stagger their minutes. They're both going to play, again, in a close regular season game, 32 to 36 to 38 minutes. That's very typical for the Grizzlies. Now, Marcus Smart, he's going to play fewer minutes. He's probably going to play somewhere between 24 to 28 minutes a game. Now, maybe he plays more sometimes, but usually that's what's going to be. Maybe this season, in his age 30 season, he'll play even less. But let's say we're pretty confident he's going to play like 24 minutes, 26 minutes, somewhere around there. Jaylen, again, in the absence of foul trouble, if the game is close, this is going to play, 34 to 36 minutes. As far as Edey and Clark, I'm not sure. I think they're going to come close to maybe playing 48 minutes a game, but maybe that's too much. I mean, maybe Edey plays between 20 and 24. Maybe Brandon Clark does the same thing. I mean, Brandon Clark, pretty typical for him to average 20, 22 minutes a game, somewhere around there. So if that happens, if all those numbers are ballpark accurate, that is roughly 175 minutes or so of playing time already taken, meaning roughly there are 65 minutes of playing time left for 3 to 4 guys. If it's a 10-man rotation, that means there are 64, 65, somewhere around there minutes for 4 guys. Now, if you visualize the rotation, if you actually look at where the minutes are, you kind of see, all right, I'm guessing most of the point guard minutes are taken by Ja and Desmond. Also, most of the point guard and shooting guard minutes, I think they're taken by those 3 guys. There are still some spots available, but like, are you going to play Vince Williams Jr., Luke Kennard, and Scotty Pippen Jr.? No, I don't think you're going to play all 3 of those guys if the team's fully healthy. You look in the front court, and it's like, all right, there's like a few power forward minutes available. Maybe those just go to Santi Aldama. I mean, if I'm calling subs and if we're going 10 deep, the 4 guys I'm using in a 10-man rotation beyond those 6 I already named, it's GG Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., Santi Aldama, and Luke Kennard. If you go 9-man, which one of those guys are you leaving out? Maybe it's matchup dependent. I think it's probably Luke Kennard or Santi Aldama. I think if you play 10, though, you feel pretty confident that Santi Aldama is going to be your 4th big. Now, like I said, there's about 65 minutes left if you look at the minutes available for people who are not Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey, and Brandon Clark. I think Vince Williams Jr. is deserving of the most minutes among those guys. I asked people on Twitter, which 3 players would you play beyond that top 6 if you were forced to have a 9-man rotation? Everyone who replied included Vince Williams Jr. Maybe that's a very selective sample size because I've probably muted everybody who doesn't like Vince Williams Jr. But every reply I saw included Vince Williams Jr. I think Vince Williams Jr. is going to play heavy minutes for this Grizzlies team. I think also I want Vince Williams Jr. to play every minute that Marcus Smart is not on the court. I think one of those 2 guys should be on at all times as a primary defender. So I have Vince at least 22 minutes. So if like Marcus plays 26, Vince has to play at least 22. I'm going to even crank that up a little bit. I'm going to say about 25 or 26 minutes for Vince Williams Jr. Maybe that's on the high end for a bench player under Taylor Jenkins, but I think that's probably pretty close to what we're going to get. So that leaves 40 minutes of playing time available for GG Jackson, Luke Kennard, and Santi Aldama, and every other player on the roster, including Scotty Pippen Jr., Jaylen Wells, Cam Spencer, John Conchar, Jake LaRavia, etc. I'm of the opinion that GG Jackson needs to play at least 20 minutes a game. In the regular season, what are we doing if we're not playing him 20 minutes a game? I think a lot of the Grizzlies' hopes and dreams of being amazing and of winning a title, parentheses, while simultaneously not paying the luxury tax, are that GG Jackson continues on an unbelievable developmental curve. So like GG should play 20 minutes. That leaves 20 minutes a game to split between everybody else. For me, I would split it between Luke Kennard and Santi Aldama. I think that makes sense. I also think that points out why I've long maintained Luke Kennard is not the most pressing roster need, because when the team's fully healthy, he's going to play 14 minutes, maybe 12 minutes. And even then, that's going to mean you're going to play a lot of small ball. You're going to play Marcus Smart and Desmond Bane for most of your small forward minutes, or Vince Williams Jr. I don't know, but I feel like that actually is a consensus right now. I don't feel like I went out on any limbs right there trying to project what the rotation is going to be. I know a lot of people are saying, oh yes, Scotty Pippen's got to play, 10, 12 minutes. He's got to be your backup point guard. I don't think so. I mean, are you playing him over Luke Kennard? That's fine. That's your prerogative. But it makes more sense to me to have just the better shooting. You're going to have enough ball handling between Ja Morant and Desmond Bane and even Marcus Smart. Although I don't consider Marcus Smart as much of a backup point guard. Last year, remember, in the games where Marcus and Ja were both healthy, which admittedly is a very small sample size, Marcus played most of his minutes alongside Ja Morant. They didn't stagger those guys at all. So Marcus was more of a wing while Ja Morant was available. Maybe it changes in the upcoming season. But I think right there, when fully healthy, which is an important caveat, and what are the odds we see a fully healthy Grizzlies team? I don't know. But when fully healthy, that is basically your rotation. And they could still make some moves and bring different guys in. I feel like the odds of that are low. I kind of feel like our business is done once Luke Kennard signs. Going to have 15 guys on the roster. If you keep Diakite around, I mean, maybe they'll keep him up through training camp. I kind of thought they'd go ahead and waive him to open up a roster spot and to go ahead and get some of his money off of the ledger. But that has not occurred yet. And anyways, I'm curious if you guys think they should do anything different. And I'm also curious what you guys think the Grizzlies' outlook is with the roster as is. I think the team is very, very good. I don't think I have them in the upper echelon of Western Conference teams, but I think they should be great. I think their season right now, if you look at it, it's going to come down to, like every team is going to come down to health. But specifically for the Grizzlies, I think if you look at like Marcus Smart, Ja Morant, and Zach Edey's health, those things are probably going to be indicative of how good the season goes. I also think you have to look at, if I had to pick a cherry pick stat, my projection for how good the season goes for the Grizzlies, it's some weird formula that's like Ja Morant and Gigi Jackson's 3-point percentage plus games played. There's a formula there. Like if Ja and Gigi make 35% of their threes and Ja appears in 70 games, I think the Grizzlies, could be in competition for the 1 seed in the West. I think they could win 50-55 games. If Ja shoots 32% and Gigi shoots 32% from 3 and Ja plays in 50 games, well, then I think the play-in is going to be what you're shooting for, and that would be, of course, disappointing for everybody. But anyways, that, I'd say, concludes Summer League for the Grizzlies, concludes my analysis of the Summer League players. Of course, these episodes of Grits and Grinds are going to keep coming all summer, so make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and to the show on whatever podcast app you prefer. If you want to support this show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you join at Patreon, you get at least 1 bonus episode a month. You can also join my Slack channel where I'm in there with all my other listeners and supporters talking about basketball. We have a Grizzlies specific channel. If that's your thing, come join me and other listeners over at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.